Hello everyone, I'm Fozzie or Cam and I'm here as always with my co-host Will and a special guest today, Ryan. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. How about you, Cam?
I'm fantastic, Ryan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about Daredevil and Stranger Things.
Yeah, I am. I'm also very excited to talk about those two things. But before we start this episode, it's come to my attention that you, Ryan, have your own YouTube channel, which you'd like to mention here in the podcast. What's up with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody who's watching this, fans of the Everything podcast, my name is Ryan. I run a channel called Vlad V. I do edits. I'm gonna start doing some movie review content. Maybe some fitness stuff. Kind of dabble in a couple different forms of content. So yeah, check it out if you can. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds awesome. Really excited to hear that. And it's also kind of similar to what we do here on the podcast in a way. We do a lot of movie content here, as you know. So I'm sure a lot of our viewers will translate very well to your content. So
Yeah.
that's great to hear. Yeah, Vlad V, everyone, check out that channel for sure. And yeah, so first, I kind of want to start off this podcast with some really pressing information. We've gotten the new Stranger Things trailer like very recently, and I mean, well, I know I can already tell what you're gonna say. The I know how much you like the date announcement, just in terms of the intensity that it brought. But I mean, you have to admit this trailer kind of gave us everything in a way. We know the story. We know Will Byers is probably gonna get possessed for sure now. I'm very excited for this season of Stranger Things, and honestly, I mean, it makes sense that it's gearing up to be the most epic season of the show so far. I'm glad that it looks like we have a lot of time with everyone together. Was a little worried that there wasn't a whole lot of Steve in this trailer, but I think that there could be other reasons for that, but it does, make me a little bit nervous just as a fan of the character and such. But yeah, really, really excited for this season. Most interested thing for me, I'm interested in the season one, season five, episode three title, "The Vanishing of." I am very interested to see who is vanishing. I think it's going to be Mike Wheeler's sister Holly. That's what a lot of the rumors have been, especially with some of the shots from the first real teaser trailer. That kind of signified that that could be happening, but I'm intrigued to see what it could be for sure. But honestly, this trailer really just built my excitement. Got to see a lot of Vecna. He looks insanely cool this season, and yeah, just super excited to see this. Will, what are you feeling about this new trailer?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't think the last two trailers have been good, because I definitely think they have been good. It's just the date announcement teaser is by far my favorite because I feel there
Sure.
was just something about how tight and compact that trailer was, that just really caught my attention, and the bone-chilling ending of it with Will Byers screaming "run." And it's not
Yeah.
that these last two trailers haven't been good. I just feel they've been busier with more going on, and I thought the first one was just tight and compact and bone chilling in a really great way. So look, do I think this season will be good? Absolutely. But I also learned a pivotal lesson with Cobra Kai season 6, that even great shows can sometimes have a final season that isn't your favorite and isn't as good as the other seasons. Now, with Cobra Kai, I feel like they wrapped up so many of their storylines at the end of season 5 that season 6 wasn't really necessary. Stranger Things is different. I feel season 4 ended on a
Yeah.
cliffhanger to where it makes perfect sense for there to be a fifth season. So I think this season will be good. Definitely love the first trailer, but since these last two trailers I think have been good, not great, I'm preparing myself for this season potentially being just a tad bit below the others, just because we've seen with Cobra Kai what can happen to even the best of the best shows.
Yeah, I totally see that. And I feel like for something like this, it's all right to kind of have your expectations a little lower because I mean, if they're just too high, which I mean, there is good reason for expectations to be high. I mean, this is one of the biggest shows of all time, but set them that high leads to really just disappointment because sometimes there's no way it's ever going to be as good as what you think it is. So I kind of agree with what you're doing there, Will. And I think it's definitely a possibility that this isn't one of their finer seasons, but again, it being basically just a part two to last season helps it for sure. But Ryan, are you looking forward to this new season of Stranger Things?
Well, yes, I'm tremendously excited for season 5 because this is a show that I grew up with and it has such a large impact on Gen Z culture. It's going to be a little sad. We may see one or a couple of important characters die. Some people can definitely speculate who's more likely. People are guessing, Will, Steve, kind of important characters that the fan base revolves around. So yeah, but I watched the trailer. It looks super awesome. Vecna came in looking all cool.
Yeah.
He kind of has like burn marks all over his body. Kind of like a new muscular armored look almost. I'd like to say it's
Yeah,
kind of
I
like a
agree. With the
monster
spikes
glow
and
up.
stuff, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I'm excited to see Eleven's story concluded. Generally, even though I love Stranger Things, I'm really excited to see it end because it's kind of been dragged on for too long. And that's been hurtful to the fan base that now the whole cast is getting older. Pretty much none of them are in high school now. So I
Yeah.
think this is a good stopping point, like a
Oh, for
solid
sure.
conclusion. And now all the special people who made this show could kind of move on and grow into other roles.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, but that also brings up the question, what is this Stranger Things spin-off that I'm hearing about going to be about? Well, do you have any information regarding that?
I do, yeah. So we got some really pivotal in really pivotal information about it recently. So um Variety had an interview with the Duffer Brothers recently, and part of that interview, the Duffer Brothers revealed that the Stranger Things spin-off series will have, as they put it, new characters and a clean slate. And I have a couple thoughts on that. One, I think going in the direction of having new characters and a clean slate is smart because I feel like season 5 will wrap up the storylines of all the current characters and leave it where there won't necessarily be more to do with them going forward. So from that standpoint, I think centering a spin-off around new characters and a clean slate and a fresh look is a smart idea. But,
Yeah.
we've also seen how certain franchises will start off great, but then just get dragged on and on and on with just different spin-offs and sequels and stuff like that. And sometimes you see the spin-offs and the sequels not be as good as the original. So I think the Duffer Brothers going in a new direction with new characters and a clean slate is smart, but the spin-off series is going to be in Prove It To Me range because as much as I respect the Duffer Brothers and as brilliant as I think they are, I've seen on far too many occasions examples of franchises dragging things out and
Sure.
doing more than they should. So I'm going to need the Duffer Brothers to prove to me that this spin-off is a worthwhile addition to the Stranger Things story and that things shouldn't have been just left be at the end of season 5.
Yeah, I agree with you, Will. And honestly, I mean, part of what makes Stranger Things so great is the characters that we know. So to have to go back, reestablish and attach people again to brand new characters for what's essentially like probably going to be a really similar show. I don't think that'll go well. And I mean, traditionally with shows that have done this, it hasn't gone well. People haven't been crazy excited for it. I mean, that's basic. That's kind of what's happened with Ted Lasso season 4. I'm seeing a lot of negativity towards that, especially from Will here on the Everything podcast and me, honestly. So I think that's definitely a big issue, it having a whole new cast. But I understand why they're doing that, but I can also see the downsides with it. Ryan, are you at all interested in the Stranger Things spinoff?
Well, yes, I'm conflicted. I am excited to see some new characters, fresh faces, younger actors, new story. And when they put it on Netflix, I will definitely watch with a cautious opinion. But
Yeah.
something that I am not so excited about is that the Duffers said that they are not looking to expand the lore of the Upside Down whatsoever, and that's a very disappointing decision that they're making because they have a lot of potential with the new show to add more lore to the story, and the fact that they're just completely writing that off before the show is even off the ground, it really just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic going to it. Going, I think that's my final verdict. I'm cautiously optimistic. I feel like there definitely could be good things to pull out of it. This world is fascinating for sure, but like I said, I'm also really drawn to the characters. That's why I'm just a little bit conflicted about it. But you know what I'm not conflicted about? Again, if you guys watched the last episode, we were really stressing how good the transitions into different topics will be. We're looking to carry that on today, and I thought that was a pretty good transition. Anywho, we thought Marvel Zombie, or I thought Marvel Zombies was a pretty good show. 4 episodes, sure, but what they were able to accomplish and the characters they were essentially able to create, because I mean these versions of these characters are just so different from the ones we're seeing in the MCU, despite them technically being the same character. Uh, that was really awesome to see, and it's basically more of what we saw in What If, except gorier, better fight scenes. Honestly, I thought the animation was better, better character development. I thought it was just a way level up from What If. And I'm actually kind of liking this 4 episode format. It kind of feels like you're watching like a movie almost, because I don't know. I feel like if it was like a 10 episode series, I would feel like a TV series. If it was like every episode's different, blah blah blah. There might be some filler episodes. There can't be any filler episodes here because there's only 4 episodes. So that just makes for exciting content that just moves on and hits it hard every time. And that's just a whole lot of fun. And I think what they were able to pull off with this show is remarkable. I thought this was a really creative thing that Marvel did, and I'm really glad they did it. And I honestly think they should branch out a little more and sort of get a little more creative with animation after the success of this, which obviously, yeah, was super creative and super innovative. Um, and Marvel, I think, should do more things like this. It kind of gives vibes to Marvel doing something so creative like Werewolf by Night, which was also another sort of unique project that Marvel did, which also wasn't a movie, but still super exciting to see Marvel experiment with stuff like that, with horror-ish stuff, and just more mature themes. So yeah, I was a big fan of Marvel Zombies. It might be the one of the bigger Marvel Zombie fans out there. I mean, I saw positive reactions, but not really as positive as me. Will, did you like Marvel Zombies?
So how I feel about Marvel Zombies is essentially exactly the same that I feel about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Your Friendly
Yeah,
Neighborhood Spider-Man to me was one of those shows to where it wasn't perfect, it had its flaws, but I was able to have fun watching it and enjoy it in spite of its flaws. And basically, like when people would ask me what I think of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, my reaction is always, I don't think it's a great show, but it's a fun show, and I was able to have fun watching it in spite of its flaws, and I think I'll be able to do the same with season two coming out in the fall of next year. And that's also how I feel about Marvel Zombies. I first of all want to praise Marvel Zombies because I talk about with these franchises like Marvel and Star Wars that have lasted for so long, bringing in new and fresh ideas and concepts that we don't typically see, I think are really pivotal to keep things fresh. So to see a
yeah,
Marvel series not be afraid to kill off that many beloved characters and to end on a dark note, which is something that we don't see that often unless it's a movie like Infinity War. I
Infinity
thought
War,
that was
yeah.
a fresh, newer direction to take it in, and I enjoyed seeing them play around with more fresh concepts like that. But I feel like Marvel Zombies, I feel like the flaws are going to be there in a show like Marvel Zombies because there's only 4 episodes, each are about 30 minutes, so they're just gonna do things like, okay, here is Ironheart, Kate Bishop, and Miss Marvel. We're gonna put them on screen. They're gonna be friends with each other, but we're not gonna give any explanation to how they met or how they became friends. We're just gonna put them on screen and just
Yeah.
make you have to fall for it. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I also feel like it's a thing where if you only have 4 episodes that are 30 minutes each, I just feel like they're not going to have. I feel like they can sometimes move by fast, and they're not going to have as much time to dive into more specific aspects of it. So that's what I thought the flaws were. But the reason that this to me was another one of those shows to where, in spite of the flaws, I was still able to enjoy it and still have fun watching it is because of what I said before. Like this Marvel Zombies concept, it feels new and fresh. Killing off that many beloved characters feels new and fresh. Ending on a darker
Definitely.
note, not something that you see that often. So even if it's not in my elite tier, I was still able to have fun watching it in spite of its flaws. And I know it's not been renewed for a season 2 yet, but I hope it does get
I did too.
renewed for a season 2 because there's a lot on the small screen with Marvel right now that I don't have any interest in and wouldn't want to see a second season of, but Marvel Zombies is something I would be fine with seeing a second season of, so I hope it gets renewed for a season 2.
I'm completely with you, Will. I'm just excited to see if they can do anything else with this world. And I feel like the fact that they left it on such a dark note kind of leans more into the fact that there'll probably be a season two. Especially with people who pretty much all across the board like this show, you know. Ryan, were you a fan of Marvel Zombies?
I want to start by saying that I did not enjoy Riri Williams at all as a character. But now that I have that out of the way, I do want to say I liked Marvel Zombies. I just tremendously love the animation format. I think that animation has so much more creative potential over a live action project. Because you could do so much more with the effects and the story, and you're not limited to things like live practical effects, all of that. So I think it's interesting how Marvel pivoted into an animated story, and it just shows a wide reach of potential for storytelling. I really appreciated that. And I like how they only made it 4 episodes, kind of like you were saying. It gives us a little bit to be desired, unlike the What If series, where I feel like they milked it a little bit too hard, to the point that
Definitely.
a lot of people didn't want to watch anymore. I feel like that was not a smart move, so they kind of corrected that mistake with Marvel Zombies. So I'm fine either way. I would be cool with watching a second season, or I would be okay with them leaving it how it ended. So I did really like that show.
That's good. Why were you not a fan of Riri Williams in this show?
I just didn't appreciate Ironheart. I felt like they kind of disparaged Iron Man's legacy a little bit. She was a little bit disrespectful about like the remembrance of like Tony Stark and Iron Man. Like she claims that Tony never worked hard to create the Iron Man suit because he was a billionaire. But in the first movie, the villain literally said Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with nothing but a box of scraps.
That's
So
true,
that
yeah.
proves Riri wrong that he
Yeah,
was
right.
literally stranded in the Middle East and he was able to create the Ironmonger war suit. So I think that really shows Tony's skills and why he's special.
For sure. I completely agree with you, and I can understand why you feel that way for sure. I think Marvel's kind of mishandling that character right now, just with how poorly received and poorly marketed, honestly, her show was. I mean, you had the stuff with RDJ, which was cool, but you never saw trailers and stuff for it on TV or whatever. I mean, all of Marvel's biggest shows, you'll see trailers from big NBA games at halftime and like big events you'll see trailers from, and you didn't really see that with Ironheart, which is this disappointing because we can want Marvel to succeed. And speaking of Marvel
Totally.
succeeding, a character who has really helped Marvel succeed is Daredevil. So I mean, I've watched a little bit of Daredevil, the original show. I haven't watched any of the Born Again, or I haven't watched season one of Born Again. But I understand, Ryan, that you have, which is great to hear. So I want to hear what sort of expectations, and are your expectations for both of you high for Daredevil Born Again season two? Will, what are you thinking right now?
I'm very, very excited for Daredevil Born Again season 2, and that's not something I can say about most Marvel small screen projects. Like, if you look at Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man 2, which is coming out next year, I'm gonna have fun watching that, but
Yeah,
it's not one that I'm gonna get like crazy hyped up for or like spend a lot of time thinking about it outside of the time that I'm watching it. Daredevil Born Again season 2 is completely different. I am incredibly psyched for season 2, which is not something that I'm accustomed to saying with Marvel small screen projects right now, but the reason I'm so excited, and I'll do no spoilers for people who haven't seen season 1, but the reason I am so excited for season 2 is I feel that the finale of season 1 was able to get Daredevil back to what made the show work in the first place during those first 3 seasons on Netflix. And the majority of Daredevil Born Again season 1, I will say that Vanessa, Wilson Fisk's wife, played a pivotal role in Born Again season 1, and her and Wilson Fisk have a bunch of scenes together. So it was great to be able to see those two on screen, and I thought their scenes were fantastic. But Matt Murdock, for the majority of Daredevil Born Again season 1, was in scenes interacting with new characters who I just didn't care that much about, and that changed in the finale. They had Matt Murdock back interacting with characters that I did care about, and I feel their decision to bring in Jessica Jones for season
yeah,
2 can hopefully continue that trend of having Matt Murdock interact with more interesting characters that fans are familiar with instead of these new characters brought in season 1 that I just didn't care much about. So I'm incredibly psyched for season 2 because I feel the finale of season 1 brought the show back to what made it work in the first place and set up a bunch of potential for season 2. And the biggest thing I'll give Daredevil Born Again credit for is this. Even though I think there were a lot of flaws in season 1 leading up to the finale, I
sure,
want to give them credit for finding a way to do the Matt Murdock Wilson Fisk rivalry for a third time and make it feel fresh. Let's think for a second about how hard it is to do a superhero villain rivalry 3 different times and have it feel new and fresh each time, because it had
for
already been
sure.
done twice fantastically in Daredevil season 1 and Daredevil season 3. So like when it's already been done twice, it's like, how can you do it for a third time? Well, I feel like they found a way to do it for a third time and make it somehow feel new and fresh even on the third run. And what made it feel new and fresh is that for the majority of the season, it didn't even feel like you were watching Daredevil and Kingpin. It felt like you were watching Lawyer Matt Murdock and Mayor Wilson Fisk. So the fact that they're able to make that rivalry feel fresh again for a third time when it had already been done 2 times previously, I feel like we can't underestimate how hard that is to do. And I'm psyched for season 2, just as long as it can carry off of the season 1 finale. And my final point is this. I give the new Daredevil Born Again team grace because when they overhauled the show and they brought in a new team to head the show, about like half of the episodes of Daredevil Born Again season 1 had already been filmed. So the new team that's now working on Daredevil Born Again season 1, they had to use episodes and footage from those episodes that had already been filmed before they came on board as the new people leading the show. So I feel like that put them in a tough spot, and the fact that they were able to do as good of a job as they did, I give them massive credit for. And I feel like now that in season two, the show will fully be in the hands of this new team who I trust much more than
Yeah,
the old team that led Born Again before the overhaul. I think it has the chance for season two to be much more consistent overall instead of a bunch of flaws before finally having a
sure.
finale that lives up to the hype.
Definitely, that makes sense. Especially, uh, do you think the Punisher special will lead into season two?
I think season two could actually potentially lead into the special because I know
Oh,
that
okay.
Daredevil Born Again season two is coming out in March of next year, and
Oh,
I
okay,
think the
okay.
Punisher special is supposed to be in the fall. So my guess is it would probably be the other way around if I had to
Yeah,
guess.
that's super interesting. I mean, I don't obviously I'm not as familiar with Daredevil, but I I love how because they're kind of very different people, but I love seeing those two characters interact, and I just am. I mean, from where I am now, I'm still interested in seeing in the where the future of their relationship goes. But Ryan, what are your thoughts on Born Again season two? Are you excited?
I'm tremendously happy that Daredevil season 2 is coming out. Mostly, I'm just really excited to see the Punisher again. Punisher fans are getting real service this next year with Spider-Man Brand New Day, Daredevil Born Again, and the Punisher special. So I have some hopes for Punisher's character in the new Spider-Man movie. So I'd like to just pivot on Spider-Man for a second here, which ties into Daredevil. Fans are unsure if Daredevil is gonna appear in Spider-Man Brand New Day, but the connection between Spider-Man and Daredevil has already been made in No Way Home.
Yeah,
Um, so mostly I just want to see Punisher develop as a character more. So this is a character who's always been, violent and murderous, but for a righteous cause, defending against
definitely.
crime and criminals. And you see that there's a little bit of a self-destructive pattern
Yeah,
of his that we see all throughout Daredevil, all throughout Punisher. He pushes people away and he's just very content on being, kind of a broody loner, just spending all of his life killing people. So what I want to see in Brand New Day, I think, is that maybe not necessarily that he calms down, but that he learns that maybe not every villain needs to die, and that sometimes he can learn to let some people live. And I think that would be a great idea because that kind of mirrors Spider-Man's philosophy that he's a younger kid. He believes that that people should be arrested, and that they should be tried and they should be, stopped, criminals,
sure.
but they shouldn't necessarily die. So my idea is that there should be a parallel. So Spider-Man is a character that we've never in the MCU, we've never really seen him be mature or like adult. So I really want
Yeah,
Spider-Man Brand New Day to change that. So I think, what if Punisher and Spider-Man could learn something from each other? Like, what if Punisher becomes less violent and learns not everybody needs to die? But what if Punisher teaches Spider-Man that he needs to man up a little bit and that maybe some villains have to die or he has to be a little bit rougher with them? And I just want to see
be
Spider-Man
fascinating. Yeah,
become more independent, and I think the Punisher is a perfect catalyst for that. Besides that, for Daredevil Born Again, I heard some cool news. Will told me like they're doing some new stuff. Like Kingpin is going to be in a bloody boxing match. Like that's something we've never seen before. I think they could get
no,
really creative with new fight scenes. So yeah, really excited for that. I want to see more of Karen Page. A lot more Matt Murdock, and like Will was saying, I don't really want them to focus on side characters that we don't really care about. Like I don't want to see Miss Marvel. I don't want to see the guy with the zebra stripes. I want to see Punisher, Kingpin, Daredevil, Vanessa, and Karen. The people we care about. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, and I mean, I've seen some of the leaked footage and stuff. It looks like sort of a back to basics and back to what makes Daredevil Daredevil, you know? Um, so yeah, I will watch it at some point, and I'm definitely excited to say the least. Um, but with that, that wraps up this everything episode of the Everything Podcast. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. It's
Yeah, I'm glad to be on here.
not often you see someone come on a podcast for the first time and they're able to talk like they're on podcast every day. So congratulations to you for that, Ryan. Will, thanks for joining me on always and for bringing Ryan on the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.